Hello ladies and gentlemen, Coldar here. Today we're doing a unique guide. This one is a solo guide for monks against Magmaw 10-man in Blackwing Descent. And I'm a brewmaster spec for this. You can see my talents here. So the other ones that matter really are Chi Wave and Ascension. Chi Wave is your most damage and healing of your tier 2 talents. Then I also pick up healing elixirs for the extra heal because I don't need a cooldown from the other ones. And then Rushing Jade Wind is really good AE damage for the adds throughout the fight. So with that, let's just rewind and we'll run through it. So this fight is not too difficult to solo. The main difficulty here is the Mangle ability. So if you haven't done this fight before, the basic idea is that Mangle will be used on the current tank, which is obviously you, and you'll be stunned, sucked up into the jaws of magma temporarily, and you get a debuff that increases the damage you take for 2 minutes. So the first Mangle's not very bad, but then subsequent Mangles, you will take a lot of damage while you're stunned, and then as well while you're in the jaws and he's beating on you during that period. So this is the idea to really focus on surviving that portion, and then while you're on the ground just doing your regular stuff, survival is not much of an issue. Now I'm using eye level 500 gear in total, so obviously things may be easier or more difficult depending on your own gear. But the basic idea is pretty simple. Since you're spending most of your time against a single target, you want to maximize your uptime of shuffle. So you should be able to get your shuffle going such that it's sustained and actually building up time. So shuffle for me is that purple bar in the middle there. So I've got 38 seconds on it now. So there's never a risk of shuffle dropping off during the Mangle. That's the big thing here. If you do that, you really won't have to use much, if any, of your chi to clear your stagger stack. Because the damage just won't be high enough to warrant the use of it. Instead, you should spend your chi on just doing more damage. But if you do find that damage is high for whatever reason, especially during Mangle here, then don't be afraid to do that when you get around 100,000 or more on your stagger total. So when you get picked up by Magma, you want to tab target so that you target his exposed head. And if you may recall, the mechanic that you're intended to do for this fight in a raid is to grip him with chains, and you'll pull his head down and have it impaled on that spike that's in front of him there. And this exposes his exposed head, and you do double the damage while you're attacking that. But since you're solo, you can't do the chains mechanic, but instead you can attack his head while you're mangled. So remember to tab target because it's easy to select it that way. And while you're attacking that, you'll do double damage. So you want to use any DPS cooldowns you have while you're attacking the exposed head. Likewise, during this period is when you'll take the most damage because you're mangled, and he will hit you because you don't seem to be able to dodge. So you can still shuffle, which is important, and you can still attack. So that means you can use various abilities. But this is a good time to use guard when you get mangled or shortly after, as well as fortifying brew or any other cooldown that you might have. Also, because it doesn't cost chi anymore, you should use Chi Wave pretty much on cooldown. It's far more damage than you would use if you use the global for an extra Tiger Palm. So just for DPS purposes, it's a better spell. And then of course it does strong healing on top of it. So you almost always want to use Chi Wave on cooldown, unless you absolutely are full health and you're saving it for a particular moment where you actually need the healing. This might be when you guard. You can then throw out Chi Wave just shortly after or at the same moment, and you'll get the healing bonus, of course, while guard is active. But otherwise, pretty standard stuff. Also, try to focus on saving your avoidance stacks to mitigate some of the damage during Mangle. So after Mangle's stun breaks, but you're still in his jaws, that's a good time to try to get some extra avoidance going. So that's when I use my brew and guard if I need it, that kind of stuff. Now, as for dealing with the parasites, they are not your priority, but you don't want them beating on you in huge numbers. They will do some damage to you. It's minor, but it does add up. So that's why I got Rushing Jade Wind for these. The basic idea is I stand on one side of the melee range position, wait for the parasites to spawn, then I move to the other side while they're spawning, because it takes them a while to become active and actually move toward you. And then once they're kind of active and starting to get near me in melee range, then I'll use Rushing Jade Wind on them, and the cooldown is such that it will be up for every spawn of them, so it's really good damage, and of course you can hit them at range. But usually that won't kill them outright, so you're going to have to do some spinning crane kick damage, or just target them and do a cake smash if you prefer. It doesn't really matter so much, just try not to turn your back to Magmaw if you can help it. And if they don't die right away, it's not a big deal. Like I said, they don't do a lot of damage. They're going to hit you for a couple thousand at most. You just don't want a huge group of them that are left over. So one or two beating on you, or even if they get close and debuff you, it's not the end of the world at all. Just focus on survival from Magmaw's damage. And if you do spinning crane kick, it's a good way to build up extra orbs on the ground. So if you don't mind taking a little bit of extra damage while you don't need the healing, then you can sort of save some orbs to be used later on when you actually need the healing from it. So just a minor tip, but it'll help in some cases. And if you look in the top right, you can sort of see the Berserk timer there. So we've got quite a ways to go. The DPS check for this is not that severe, to be honest. Just make sure you attack the exposed head whenever you get a chance. Obviously, you might want to use a flask especially if you don't have very good gear and food and all that stuff. But and then if you potion during the exposed head phase, that will also be the best way to go. But there you go. That's it. So that is the solo monk guide for Magmaw. Good luck, and thanks for watching.